Good morning, students. Our today's topic is square root of a positive operator. So first of all, we do a property that if t is self-adjoint operator, then its square is positive. Now to show that t square is positive operator, let us find the inner product of t square x with x. Now, by definition, this can be written as inner product of Tx with T star x. Now, because T is self-adjoint operator, so T star is seen as T. So, this becomes inner product of Tx with Tx. And by definition, this is Tx norm square, which is greater than or equal to 0. So, by definition, we can say that t square is positive. So we have proved that if t is self-adjoint operator, then t square is positive. We use this result in the next theorem. So first we define positive square root. Let us take a positive bounded self-adjoint linear operator t on a complex Hilbert space H. Then a bounded self-adjoint linear operator A that is called square root of this operator t if a square is equal to t. And in addition to this condition, if a is greater than or equal to 0, then we say that a is positive square root of t, and we write it as a is equal to under root t. Now, in the next theorem, we show that the square root of t exists and is unique. And this is shown by the theorem which is positive square root. So, in this theorem, we have every bounded positive self-adjoint linear operator t on a complex Hilbert space H. This operator has positive square root which is unique, and this operator A commutes with every bounded linear operator on H which commutes with T. It means if S is an operator which commutes with T, then S will also commute with A. It means Ts is equal to St implies that As is equal to Sa. We will prove the theorem in 3 steps. In the first step, we will show that if the theorem holds under the additional assumption t related to I under the partial ordering, then it also holds without this assumption. In the second part, we obtain the existence of the operator A, which is square root of t, from these two conditions. First condition, a n x converges to ax, where a naught is 0 and a n plus 1 is a n plus half of t minus a n square. And also we prove the commutativity which is stated in the theorem. And in the last step, we prove the uniqueness of the positive square root. So let us proceed the steps one by one. So in the first step, let us take firstly the case when t is 0. Now in this case, we can take a is equal to square root of t, which is 0. So let us take when t is not equal to 0. Now let us find the inner product of Tx with x. Now this is by Cauchy's quasi-inequality. This is less than or equal to norm of Tx into norm of x. Now because t is bounded linear operator, so by definition of boundedness, Tx norm will be less than or equal to t norm into x norm. So using here, we get inner product of Tx with x is less than or equal to t norm into x norm square. Now because t is not equal to 0 here, so norm of t is not equal to 0, so we can divide here by norm of t. So when we divide by norm of t here, we get inner product of tx by t norm with x is less than or equal to x norm square. Now let us denote t by t norm by the operator q. So this expression will become inner product of qx with x is less than or equal to x norm square. Now x norm square means inner product of x with itself. Now x can be written as identity operated on x, because under identity operator image of every element remains the same. So inner product of qx with x is less than or equal to inner product of ix with x. So by definition of partial ordering, which we discussed yesterday, we can say that q is less than or equal to I. It means q is related to I. Now let us assume that this q has unique positive square root, and which is given by b. It means b square is equal to q. Now because from here t is the product of q with norm of t, let us find under root of norm t into b whole square. Now this can be written as norm of t into b square. Now b square is q, so this will become norm of t into q. Norm of t into q, that is t. So we have proved that the square of under root of norm t into b is equal to t. So now the uniqueness of square root of q implies the uniqueness of positive square root of t. Hence, we can say that if we can prove the theorem under this additional assumption, then we are done. Now, in the next step, we prove the existence of the operator A. Now, we have already taken an plus 1 is equal to en plus half of t minus an square. So, and a naught we have defined 0. Now a naught is 0. Now a1 from here by taking n is equal to 0, that will become t by 2. By taking n is equal to 1 here, we get value of a2, which is t minus 1 by 8 t square. Now each an, that is a polynomial in t, and t is self-adjoint, and therefore we can say that each an is self-adjoint and they all commutes, and they also commutes with every operator that t commutes with. Now we will prove the 4 steps one by one. Firstly, we will prove an is related to I, where n is 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. In the next step, we prove that an is less than or equal to an plus 1. In the next step, we prove that anx converges to ax, where a is square root of t. And then we prove that the t commutes with an operator s, implies that that operator s also commutes with a. Means st is equal to ts implies as is equal to sa. Here this s is bounded linear operator. Now we prove these 4 steps one by one. So firstly, let us prove an is less than or equal to I. We prove this by using induction on n. So firstly, let us take n is equal to 0. Now for n is equal to 0, now because inner product of ix with x, that is x norm square, and norm is always non-negative, so x norm square is greater than or equal to 0. Now this 0 can be written as inner product of 0x with x. So from here we get inner product of 0x with x is less than or equal to inner product of ix with x. So by definition of partial ordering, we can say that I is greater than equal to 0. Now 0 can be written as a naught. So we have proved a naught is less than or equal to I. Now let us take n is greater than 0. Now because The operators I and an minus 1, these are self-adjoint operators. So their difference, that is also self-adjoint. And we know that if an operator is self-adjoint, then its square is positive. So we can say that the square of this operator, that is positive. So by definition, we can write I minus an minus 1 whole square is greater than or equal to 0. Now also we have t is less than or equal to I. So we can say that I minus t is greater than or equal to 0. Now from the equation second and from this relation, we can find the relation 0 less than or equal to half of I minus an minus 1 whole square plus half of I minus t. This after simplification can be written as I minus an. So from here we have obtained I minus an is greater than or equal to 0. It means an is less than or equal to I. So this proves the step 3. Now we prove the step 4. In the step 4 we prove that an is less than or equal to an plus 1, where n varies from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. We use induction to prove this step. So firstly let us take n is equal to 0. For n is equal to 0, a naught, that is we have defined 0. And for n is equal to 1, a1 is t by 2. Now because t is positive operator, therefore we have 0 less than or equal to t by 2. So we can say that a naught is less than or equal to a1. So this proves the first step of the induction. Now as an induction step, let us assume an minus 1 is less than or equal to an. And we prove that an is less than or equal to an plus 1. So let us find the difference of an plus 1 with an. Now substituting the values of an plus 1 and an, which we defined in the starting of the theorem. So the value of an plus 1, that is an plus half of t minus an square. And in the same way, by replacing n by n minus 1, here we get the value of an. So an plus 1 minus an can be written in this form. Now an minus an plus 1, that is greater than equal to 0 from here as induction step, and this expression, that is also greater than equal to 0, because in the previous step we have proved an is less than or equal to I. Also an minus 1 is less than or equal to I. If we add these two, we get an minus 1 plus an by 2 is less than or equal to I. So we can say that I minus this expression, that is greater than equal to 0. So this is greater than equal to 0, this expression is greater than equal to 0. So we can say that an plus 1 minus an is greater than or equal to 0, which completes the induction, and hence this step is complete. Now in the step 5, we prove that the sequence anx converges to ax, where a square is equal to t. Now from the step 4, we can say that the sequence an, that is monotonically increasing sequence, and by the step 3 we have an is less than or equal to I. So we can apply the monotone sequence theorem which we discussed yesterday. So by that theorem, there exists a bounded self-adjoint linear operator A such that anx converges to ax for every x belonging to H. Now because the sequence anx converges, therefore an plus 1x minus anx, that is equal to half of tx minus an square x, that approaches to 0 as n approaches to infinity. So from here we get tx minus a square x is 0 for every x, and therefore we can say that t is equal to a square. Now also, because a is greater than equal to 0, because a naught, which is 0, and a naught is less than equal to an, so an is greater than equal to 0. So by definition, inner product of anx with x is greater than equal to 0. This is true for every x belonging to H, and therefore we can take limits as n approaches to infinity. When we apply limit here, because inner product is continuous function, so we can, when we apply limit here, that limit can be taken inside. So limit of a and x, that will become ax. So we get inner product of ax with x is greater than or equal to 0. This is true for every x belonging to H, and by definition of positive operator, we can say that a is greater than equal to 0. So this proves that a is positive operator. In the sixth step, we proved that St is equal to Ts implies that As is equal to Sa. Now we have St is equal to Ts, and therefore we can say that An into S is equal to S into An, because all the An, they commutes with every operator that commutes with T. So we have obtained this, and this can be written as an Sx is equal to S anx for all x belonging to H. Now taking limits as n approaches to infinity, because this is true for every n, so that will also be true for limit also. So we can take limits here. As we take limits, this will become Asx and this will become Sax for every x belonging to H. So this proves that Sa is equal to As. Now in the last step, we prove the uniqueness. So let us take a and b are the positive square roots of t. So a square is equal to t as well as b square is equal to t. Now let us find b into t. Now substituting the value of t here, t is b square, so this will become b into b square, and this is further is equal to b square into b. Now b square is t, so this becomes t into b. So we have obtained bt is equal to tb. It means b commutes with t. So by the given hypothesis, we can say that if b commutes with t, then a also commutes with b. So we get ab is equal to ba. Now let us take x belongs to H be arbitrary and y is equal to a minus b operated on x. Now because a is positive, so we get inner product of ay with y greater than equal to 0. Also b is positive, so inner product of by with y is greater than equal to 0. Now let us find inner product of ay with y plus inner product of by with y. Now this can further be written as inner product of a plus by with y. Now substituting the value of y here, y is a minus b operated on x. So putting the value of y here and a plus b into a minus b, that is a square minus b square. So this will become inner product of a square minus b square operated on x with y. Now because a square is equal to b square, so this will become 0. So we have obtained inner product of ay with y plus inner product of by with y is equal to 0. Now this is the sum of two non-negative quantities, and the sum of two non-negative quantities, that is 0 if and only if each of the expression is separately 0. So from here we get inner product of ay with y is 0 as well as inner product of by with y, that is 0. Now because a is positive and also a is self-adjoint, and therefore it has itself a positive square root. So let us take that square root is c. It means c square is equal to a, and c is also self-adjoint. Now because inner product of ay with y, that is 0, substituting the value of a here, a is c square. So we get inner product of c square y with y is 0. Now this can further be written as inner product of cy with c star y. C is self-adjoint, so c star will be same as c. So this will become inner product of cy with cy. This is cy norm square. Now cy norm square is 0. It means cy is 0. And therefore ay is equal to c square y implies that ay is 0. In the same way, we can prove that by is 0. Now, because y is a minus b operated on x, so we have, using this, we have ax minus bx norm square. By definition, this can be written as inner product of a minus b operated on x with itself. Now this can further be written as inner product of a minus b whole square operated on x with x. Now a minus b into x, that is y. So we can write it as inner product of a minus b operated on y with x. Now from here we have a operated on y is 0, b operated on y is 0. So this will become inner product of 0 with x, and that is 0. So we get norm of ax minus bx is 0, and therefore we can say that ax minus bx is 0 for all x belonging to H. And by definition, this proves that a and b are equal. So this proves the uniqueness also, and this completes the proof of the theorem.